learn an F blues, and what I want to talk about in this video is ideas for what to do with the left hand. As a solo pianist, we face the challenge of playing the solo, comping the chords, playing the bass, the beat and the rhythm, and it's obvious that we can't do all those things at once. So we have to kind of strike a balance. If the right hand is busy, do very little, if anything at all, with the left hand. And equally so, when the right hand comes to a long note or has a rest, then fill the gap in with something in the left hand. For the voicing of the chords, I used very simple, what we call shell voicings. For instance, F7, that's the full chord. I simply played either the root and seventh, or the third and seventh, or the seventh and third. And that's perfectly sufficient to imply the chord. What's really important is good voice leading. So, for instance, if you were playing the seventh and third of an F7, when you go to B flat 7, both those notes drop one semitone. So the third of F7 drops to the seventh of B flat 7. The seventh of F7 drops to the third of B flat 7. The rhythm of the left hand is very important. You've got to try and lay the beat down and fill the gaps in. There's some rhythms that are used a lot in jazz, and one of them in particular is called a Charleston rhythm. You play a chord on beat 1 and then you repeat it on the 2 and A. So for instance, on F7, you could just simply go 1, 2 and A, 3, 4. It's a good idea when you're beginning to stick to a simple rhythm like that, not try and put the extra things in that I put in. So for instance, going from F7 to B flat 7, the 7th could just drop to the 3rd of B flat 7, add the root. So you'd have 1, 2 and A, 3, 4. 1, 2 and A, 3, 4. Now, what I actually did in the first bar was I went from root and 7th, 1, 2 and A, up to 7th and 3rd. But I also added a note on beat 4. I put a quarter note in. I played a C, and that filled in a gap in the right hand. The right hand on the second half of that bar had a syncopated rhythm. So the C in the left hand filled that little gap, and it also leads nicely to the B flat in the second bar. I did exactly the same rhythm in the left hand on the second bar. 1. On beat 4, I played the note B in the bass. Now that actually changes the chord into a B diminished 7th chord. And for the next bar, F7, I played the chord in second inversion with the 5th of the chord, C, in the bass, and I simply played an A above it. Now the right hand was quite busy there, so there's no need to do anything else with the left hand, just play those two notes and hold them down. When the right hand came to that final note of that phrase there, that's a long note, and it feels like the left hand has to fill that gap there. What I actually did was play a B7 chord, root, 3rd and 7th. Now that's not part of the chord progression, it's called a chromatic passing chord, and it leads to the B flat 7. So you can use a dominant 7th chord, a semitone above the chord that you're going to approach it with. I'll just play those two bars again. So it leads nicely to the B flat 7 and it fills that gap in the right hand. Now in the next bar, in the left hand, I use a slightly different rhythm. It's quite a basic one. I just played a dotted half note followed by a quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. once again, that quarter note there fills a little gap rhythmically in the right hand. 1. In the next bar, I used almost the same rhythm, but I anticipated beat 4 with the left hand. I went 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3. Now in the next bar, once again, we're on F7 and I'm playing it in second inversion. The right hand is busy again, so I'm doing nothing but just playing the shell in the left hand. Now in the next bar we've got two chords. We've got A minor 7 flat 5 going to D7, and I just play shells root and 7th of A minor 7 flat 5, and I'm just playing that as a half note, 1, 2, 3. But on beat 4, I'm adding that extra quarter note and I'm playing A because it leads down to G in the next bar. The A also fills a gap in the right hand. In the next bar, the right hand is busy again. It's a stream of continuous quavers. So in the left hand, I'm simply just playing whole notes, just root and 7th. Now, the next bar is interesting. It's a C7, but I start off by keeping the F down with my thumb and just adding C in the left hand. Now, what that does, it implies a C suspended 4th chord. The F is the suspended 4th, which then resolves onto the 3rd. So on that long note in the right hand, I then resolve the suspension onto the 3rd and add the 7th. Now the last two bars each have two chords in them. We've got F7 going to D7, G minor 7 and C7. And in the left hand I played 7th and 3rd for F7, 1, 2 and A3, 4. I anticipated the root of D7, 1, 2 and A3, 4. So basically I'm doing the Charleston rhythm again, 1, 2 and A3, and adding the 3rd and 7th on beat 4 to fill a gap in the right hand. And then same thing in the next bar. I'm not playing the root at all though of G minor 7, I'm just playing the 7th and the 3rd. And once again, when it gets to C7, I'm adding the C, but I'm keeping the F on, making it a suspended chord, which resolves then. So that last two bars, sorry. Okay, one other thing was right at the beginning when I did just a single note C there, the dominant in this key, 2, 3 and A4. So I played 1, 2, 3 and A4, anticipate beat 4 with another C an octave lower. And that always works over a dominant chord. Hope you found that useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. Thank you.